Since his father's return to office, Donald Trump Jr., the president's eldest son's investment firm, has gone from managing just a few $100 million to more than $3 billion. That is according to the New York Times, which breaks down how Don Jr. and his business partner are cashing in on policies of the current administration openly without any apology. Joining me now, the reporter of this must-read piece, Maureen Farrell, also with us, veteran Washington correspondent, my dear friend John Harwood. He's a distinguished fellow at Duke University and a columnist for Zateo on Substack. Maureen, we ask the question day in, day out, is this White House for sale? Don Jr. is doing this right out in the wide open. Walk us through what his firm has been up to.
Sure. So right after his father won the election, he joined this firm called 1789 Capital. It's an investment firm. They make investments in the U.S. and private companies. And the firm has been on fire since he joined.
Why has it been on fire? Tell us about these private companies, what their connections were to the government a year ago, and what their connections are to the government today.
So they have a huge portfolio. I mean, just starting from on fire, they've raised $3 billion.
From whom?
From a wide range of individuals. They went out to a bit of the Republican base. There's a connection with Rockbridge Network. They've gone to the base of people. They've gone kind of around the world to raise money. They say they only do it from allies of the U.S. They wouldn't go to China. But $3 billion for a first-time fund manager, people we've talked to said that's staggering. They've never
it's staggering because it's a first-time fund manager who's never raised a dollar, never managed money in their life, except for the fact that this is the son of the president who can say, yo, we can call my dad up over at the White House and potentially get a government contract for, I don't know, this drone company.
So that's obviously been a huge allegation against, or questions have been raised. Democrats are looking into it. I will say I did not find any evidence of the fact. I mean, in my article, I say that Don says he doesn't discuss business with his father. He said that he has never, they have said they've never gone to the White House or to the Pentagon to ask for help. That said, there are many businesses that have government contracts that have received them. No. So there's different firms that did not before and now have received government contracts. They've had favorable outcomes from the administration, like a firm like Polymarket, the betting firm, and they've
where Don Jr. is an advisor of both Polymarket and Kalshi, and those predictive market companies are now facing less regulation, and in fact, the federal government is trying to now push states to have less regulation. So sure, John, Don Jr. can easily say, and his partner, no, I didn't call my dad or walk into the Oval Office to say, can you do this? But is there not evidence when you look at the companies they invested in and now the direct ties they have to our government and government contracts, or at the very least, a lack of regulation on those industries? I'm looking at you, crypto.
This is astonishingly corrupt, Steph. And that doesn't mean that it's illegal, but this is a family and a president who are not public-spirited people. They're not in public life, in elective office, to try to solve problems. Donald Trump, grifting has been his business for his entire career. He has tried to make money off of his name. The one legitimate thing that he made money on and was successful at was a reality TV show that was built on a lie that he was a successful businessman. He has used the presidency, especially in this second term, for two purposes. One is to stay out of jail, as Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan have detailed in their new book, Regime Change. And second, to make money. And he's done very, very well at making money because there are a lot of people who will invest with the president, who see him as a vehicle for them, and they are a vehicle for him.
Maureen, you write that companies trying to get in with the administration see an investment from Don Jr.'s firm as a stamp of approval. Now, they're not going to say these words, but do you read that? Or do you believe that they think they're basically buying access to the White House? Because the favorable treatment they then get, the performance of their companies would lead us to that.
From my reporting, from people I've talked to, there is a sense that, if you put money in there, you raise money from them, you put the banner 1789 Capital on your firm, you acknowledge they're one of your investors. There's a sense from people in the orbit that they think that, oh, this looks good. This is like a stamp of approval, as I said, from for the administration, that maybe we'll get favorable terms.
And are they getting favorable terms?
I mean, there are cases where they have. Again,
can you give an example?
There's a company called Vulcan
Materials.
Vulcan Materials, and they got a $620 million loan from the Pentagon to help their business, to work on their business.
This is a rare earths business. Now, do we know if other companies in that same space pitched the administration and looked for a direct investment, or did Vulcan get it and they had nobody else that was up for it?
I mean, they're making a lot of investments, either equity stakes or giving loans to other rare earth material miners. And I mean, in my piece, Donald Trump Jr. did say, he's like, it was kind of obvious. He was like, it didn't take a genius to figure out that they would get a loan from the Pentagon. I had no knowledge. I didn't know the people themselves. We learned about this. His partner, Omid Malik, said we learned about this from a press release. But their argument was that there was a finite number of companies that could have gotten one of these loans. That said, it was one of the biggest loans the Pentagon has this Office of Strategic Capital has ever given. And it's put this company on a new path. I mean, it was it was worth a few $100 million. Now it's worth $2 billion. They're off to the races.
So John, what's the argument against it, right? This may be wildly corrupt, a vile grift. It may lack ethics, but lots of folks look at this and say, well, it's not illegal. If you can't beat them, join them. Look how these companies are doing. Why not back a company that you think is going to get an investment from the government?
Well, it might be a smart business decision for the people behind these companies. If they have a Trump associated with their company, they're going to do well. But this is all happening because of the Trump. Nobody thinks Donald Trump Jr. knows anything about rare earths or about drones. He is looking at ways to piggyback on things that the administration is doing to try to make money. I am old enough to remember a quaint time when people in public life were trying to solve public problems. They went into it out of some sense of public spiritedness, and that is just completely absent. And there's a complete absence of shame by the Trump family. They are open about it. Donald Trump says things like, well, my kids have to make a living too. Yes, they do. But in previous administrations, there was a sense that you don't make your living explicitly out of the public service of your father or your senator, mother or father or whatever. That's what this Trump family is about, and they're unabashed about it.
Do you see anything, Maureen, that would make them take pause, reverse course, or is this full steam ahead for Don Jr.? I spoke to someone very, very close to the president recently who said anybody who thinks Don Jr. is looking to run for office, he is running towards being worth $50 billion, and he might actually get there.
I mean, it's full steam ahead. As I said, the returns thus far are more than 200%. They're giving money back to investors. They're in things like SpaceX, another AI company, Cerebras. They're sort of hitting on all cylinders. Everything seems to be going up, up, up. I mean, we've seen this in the private company world right now, too, right? A lot of private companies, anything that touches AI, defense tech, they're all in. So, no, they're not taking a pause. They're going to be out raising more money, making more investments, and they're very proud of their returns.
Listen, they should be up 200%. It's nothing to sneeze at. The question
Steph,
is,
if I could just add to what Maureen said, what's going to slow them down is public reaction, and you alluded to this in the previous segment. You're starting to see in public opinion polling corruption rising as an issue that the public's concerned about. And the juxtaposition of people's own, especially working class Americans, people's own financial difficulties juxtaposed with an administration that is raking in billions of dollars for the first family, that has become a political problem for Trump and for the Republicans. And we've got an election coming up in November, and that's where the real obstacle might arise for Donald Trump and his family.
And I would give a caveat when John is saying working class Americans, that ties us to Donald Trump's original base. that voted for Donald Trump because they wanted to drain the swamp, because they felt like there were two economies, there were two sets of rules, and the rich were getting richer, and the rest of the country was being left out and left behind. That portrait that Donald Trump painted back in 2015, 2016 is now front and center with him in the middle of it. Maureen, nice to meet you. John, always great to see you. Before we go to break, really quickly, I just want to note market Dow down 370 points, and we are only 9 minutes into the